Now I'm going to go over how to pack a 4.0 Elite high cut, which is the most challenging because it actually is the heaviest, one of the heaviest of the mid-size models that are in the Ambrogio line. And so this robot was sent for repair, and our policy is to use the materials that the customer packed in, and they had followed my instructions. And so I have their boxes, their bubble wrap, and then there's some more peanuts in that box. But the idea is, it'll go back the same way it came, and we do enhance this packing if it's not good enough. But some of the things I want to point out here is this customer chose to double box it, which is a really good idea because you can see that the outer box is single wall, but then the inner box has double wall cardboard. It really needs, for the heavy lawnmower like this, it really needs to be the double walled cardboard. And I like the idea of having two boxes because I didn't look underneath the inner box, but the assumption is there's a false bottom there that would keep that box elevated, which would then, if the box was dropped, would provide some cushioning. This is actually the same way that the robots come from the factory. They have a false bottom made out of cardboard that I talked about earlier on the blog. But independent of how this box is, I put down, a good solid layer of sturdy packing peanuts. That's about 2 thick. I would say 2 layers thick, maybe 2 inches. And then I'm going to demonstrate how to wrap the robot in bubble wrap in a cocoon. Now, I did have to be careful because this box is relatively short, so we're going to be careful not to make the cocoon so big that we're not able to close the box when we're done. So that's going to be one of the challenges that we have with this one. But that is also the reason why I have kind of a thinner layer of peanuts on the bottom. Versus if I had a taller box, I might have put more peanuts. Okay, so without further ado, we'll get going. Okay, continuing on, what I did was I went ahead and got the materials that I was going to need. So I grabbed some styrofoam. This styrofoam is the kind that actually, we have a lot of it laying around. It comes with the batteries. But you can see it's pretty stiff, but spongy. So this is really good, and what I'm going to use this for is protecting the wheels from a shock if the box were to be dropped. And then, of course, packing tape. This is used to tape the bubble wrap tightly onto the unit. And then scissors, because I might have to sometimes cut the bubble wrap to make it fit right. So what I'm going to do first is demonstrate wrapping up that front left wheel, so you can see how it's done, and then I'll go off camera and finish the rest of the wrapping and getting wheels ready, and then I'll come back and show you what to do next. So here we go. So one thing I want to emphasize is put get this soft spongy styrofoam underneath the wheel, because that's what's going to help protect it if it's dropped. And then I do like to put another one on the side, because you have to consider that it might get dropped from all directions. Now, I generally don't put tape on the robot to hold these in place. What I do is use the bubble wrap and tape the bubble wrap around it. So I'm going to go get some of that right now and start that process. Okay, so one thing about bubble wrap is this one, you can kind of see the bubbles got deflated, so yeah, those aren't any good. So you want to cut those away. Only use the ones that have air. And it definitely can be done with multiple pieces. There's no problem with that. So the purpose of the bubble wrap here is to add additional cushioning, but also it's so that we have something to tape against, so that we're not putting adhesive on the robot, which could collect dirt and, you know, not be favorable. So this allows us to tape the styrofoam to the bubble wrap. So I'm just feeling these to see if any are good. It's really, a lot of them are popped, so I'm just going to move on down, find the good ones. Cut these bad ones off. Okay. And by the way, while I'm teaching, this is actually the handle, not this. This is the bump sensor. So when handling, I mean, you pick it up, but it's not going to hurt it, but just in principle, I always prefer to pick it up by the actual handle. So one key thing about the bubble wrap is keep in mind that multiple layers is really what gives you the protection. So there's going to be additional bubble wrap around the whole robot to make the cocoon. So this already has 2 layers. So I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to cut this and tape it. So I'm just wrapping this tape around to attach to the other bubble wrap. You know, again, there's going to be a whole cocoon around it. So this is just to get this in place. Okay, I'm going to pause the video now. Be back with you shortly. Alright, so both sides are wrapped up now. And it's going to be time to work on the cocoon around the whole robot, which is going to be starting at the back wheels, and I'll explain as I go. But we got a good start. So one thing with the 4.0 robot, since they're jointed at the right here, the deck actually tilts back and forth. It's good practice to put a piece of foam in there. Not critical, but definitely a good idea. Okay, so the next step is getting this around the back wheels. So same thing, we're trying to kind of provide some cushioning in case the box is dropped, but the wheels won't take all the shock. Now, historically, we've always just done this with the bubble wrap and the peanuts that are at the bottom of the box, and that has been sufficient. But these robots are heavier than the robots of the old days, so I think it's a little more important to be careful about it and definitely focus on it and not just do it as an afterthought. But at the same time, this box is kind of short, so I also want to be careful not to make the cocoon so big that it's going to, make it so I can't close the box. But the idea of the cocoon, as I talked about in my blog post, is to make sure that there's cushioning around every part of the robot, so that if it's dropped in any direction, it will be air bubbles taking the shock and not the robot itself. Now notice I'm not taping to the robot, but I got that pretty tight there. See if you can see how tight that is. And that's what we're looking for. So we want, at the end of the day, we want a very tight cocoon. So I'm just going to keep going here. Use whatever bubble wrap I got left here. And I'll probably enhance it with some more. Hoping this video will resolve any questions people have about how to have a box for shipping, because I really don't like dealing with shipping damage. They don't always cover the claims, although usually if you show them, you definitely want to take pictures while you're packing it, because if there is damage, you can prove that it wasn't due to your packing. So I'm going to use this video on this one, but normally I take snapshots as I'm packing it to show exactly how I packed it, and then those snapshots will be timestamped the particular day, right shortly before the shipment, so then you really can't dispute that it's some other thing being packed or something, it's the actual one. So now I'm going to go around the sides. So, we do have to make sure that the robot is protected on all sides, all corners, again, like a cocoon. So think of it as your little butterfly. I think this might take a while, so I think I'm going to sign off rather than bore you with the details. Maybe I'll show you one more, and I'll do one layer so you can see from that side, so you can't see what I'm doing over here. Alright, so this is good bubble wrap that has air bubbles. But if I feel right here, it's actually really close to the robot, so I know it's going to need more layers. You really can't just do this with one layer. So, just as an example, and when I get it all done, I'll show you really how well protected it is. See, that's one layer. And when I feel this, I can feel the bump sensor. I can feel the plastic of the chassis there. So when I put two, okay, and then after I get the tape on there, then I'm feeling only air. So that's how you can kind of gauge whether it's good enough, and it doesn't hurt to use 3 or 4 if you have a big enough box. The bigger the cocoon, the more protected it's going to be. Alright, I'm going to do this offline and be right back with you. Okay, got a little bit farther, but I just want to show, I actually taped it under here. So I'm taping the bubble wrap to itself and to those initial things I put on. And then here's a big long strip. Now watch, I'm just going to walk around the back. I'm going to wrap it around the back, so this is what's going to help cover the back of the robot. And notice that I'm pulling it very tightly. That's really important. Do you see how tight it is? So by having it tight with no gaps, that's what's going to create that cocoon function. So I'm going to come over here and tape it. And that was just the first layer, so you need to keep going. So when I come back, we'll probably be doing the top and showing you the bottom too. Okay, making a lot of progress. I just wanted to demonstrate something here on this step. So if you look here, you know, the bubble wrap isn't very secure. So I'm just gonna, really this tape, it works wonders. So look, I can just take this and tape over it. Now it's on there really tight. So a couple layers of tape is really all it takes in many places to tighten it up. And I've done that throughout. So now I'm going to work on this bottom here. So really just, I kind of feel like the next thing would be, you know, this is kind of flopping around. So we want to protect this right here and get this connected to that. So that's what I'm going to be working on next. Make sure that, you know, this doesn't necessarily have to be all filled in because it'll be lifted up, you know, it can stay open, but the idea is to get the cocoon tighter. So I'm going to be taping across, adding bubble wrap to protect these plastic pieces, and that'll be the next thing I'm working on. Okay, so what I did was I put another piece, pulled it really tight across the front here, and from front to back, and same thing here. So the idea again is pull it really tight, get all that slack out. And I found a bunch of leftover bubble wrap to just kind of fill this void and protect the blade, although I really don't think that's mandatory. It probably would work fine without it. So I'm just going to tape this down. You can watch me do that. You see how he's pulling it really tight. Again, the idea is to help get that cocoon tight. And you can see that the tape is really key to getting everything on there securely. So that when you're moving it around, it doesn't fall apart. Like if I just left that like that, I could see that coming off when I was trying to put it in the box. So I'm going to attach it here. Now you can see it's nice and sturdy. And don't skimp on the tape. I mean, you know, more tape the better. Make sure everything's really nice and tight. So I'm feeling around because that's the key to making sure everything's cushioned, is that you have air around all of the points where you can have damage. Okay, now we're going to flip them up. Last thing to do is the top. So I think I'll pause here and I'll be right back with you. Okay, I'm back. And what I did off camera was prep 2 pieces of bubble wrap, made sure it was going to be secure. And now you can watch me attach them to the existing cocoon. Here we go. So this is one piece. And oh, by the way, I found some random small pieces of bubble wrap, so I decided to just stick them in there. I don't think they do anything, but they just kind of fill the void. But my idea here was to get enough air around all these plastic pieces that no matter how the box is handled, it'll survive. Just tape it all down. Pulling tightly as I go. Got a lot left over on this side, so I'm going to have to lift it up and tape it underneath. Or I could fold it, I suppose, but might as well go with underneath. Get on there real good. I just shoved it under there for now. So I'm gonna show you taping this side because I'm gonna be pulling it tight. So here, put the tape there. Pull tight along the side. And this is just the first piece. Notice how I'm making sure there's air in front of this bumper, although it's a bumper, so it should be able to handle it. Just in case. You never know. Take that down. Okay, so I will have to tape the bottom because I tucked that one piece under there. Now we're going to put the second one on here. You can see how it gets harder and harder to see the robot in there. We're on the right track. This is the tallest point, so I'm hoping I'm not making it too tall. If I am, I'll probably have to adjust with the, you know. Feel free to fast forward this part. Pretty straightforward. I do come back and see the finished cocoon. That's the really important part. Just want to make sure you understand really how the cocoon totally protects the robot. Okay, it's good. So I'm going to flip it up, tape that stuff that I tucked under just so that it's secure. But you can see, I mean, this is well protected. Now here, it feels a little wimpy, to be frank. These are the back wheels. So I think off camera, I'm going to add another layer to this. I feel really good about. You can see how spongy it is. Like, any kind of shock's not going to hit the robot. So here's the finished cocoon. I'll show you from all sides so you can see. Very well protected. I feel nothing but air all the way around. Always check these corners. Those are the ones that are more likely to get damaged, and the high points, so like this, only exposed to the air. My hand is not feeling anything. And I'm going to check the bottom, but I can't hold the phone to do that, so, well, maybe I can. Here, I'll put you back here, and I'll flip it up. You can see the bottom. You can see, very well protected. So that's it. It's ready to go in the box now. So that's the next step. And just pause the video so we don't have some dead space, and then I'll show it to you in the box. Okay, it all worked out really well. Now you can see there's gaps around it. We're going to take care of that in just a second. But the cocoon fit in the box on top of the peanuts. And the next step is going to be eliminating all those voids and making sure it's completely covered on the top and closing the box. So pause you again, and I'm going to work on that. So bubble wrap or styrofoam around the edges is perfectly fine. In this case I use bubble wrap because I'm a little short on peanuts, but historically I've always used peanuts for that. I'm going to fill this top and see if I got enough peanuts to finish it off. Well, it turns out I did not have enough peanuts. So if the peanuts don't go to the top, what can happen is the robot can move around in the box. And then if it's dropped, it's going to experience more shocks. So I do have a picture on my blog that shows peanuts completely filling to the top, and that's really what you want. You might be tempted to put some sturdy paper in here. The paper just generally gets crushed, so paper does not work. If I need to ship this and don't have time to get peanuts, I'm going to be using bubble wrap. But definitely that has to be filled up all the way to the top. And then the box secured with multiple layers of tape. So we'll be securing the inner box and then the outer box with multiple layers of tape. Then sometimes these boxes have glue seams on the sides. I don't see one, maybe it's on the other corner. But I actually like to tape those glue seams just in case. Looks like this box doesn't have it. Sometimes I put tape around the girth, but we've got so much sturdiness here, it's not going to be needed this time. But multiple layers on all seams. So just give you the idea. I think the hardest part is the cocoon. That was done. But just heed my warnings and make sure you fill all the voids all the way to keep the robot from moving around during shipping. Thanks for watching. Hope you found this helpful and informative. Feel free to leave comments on the blog and subscribe. Robot Lady's blog. Have a great day.